Hello, everyone. Warm welcome for today's powerful webinar. We thank you for taking some of your precious time on this fine Monday to join us. We're privileged and honored to have Terri Maxwell with us today to explore how we can evolve from profit-first models to purpose-driven leadership. That leadership that builds resilient organization and meaningful impact. Before we dive in, I would like to everyone to acknowledge what is happening in the world and the chaos that we are facing in the Middle East, and to take some of your time today and in the coming days to pray and meditate for peace, not just for us, but for everyone around the world and for our future generations. I'm excited to have my friend, colleague, and special consultant for Western Africa, Raul, joining us today. We are part of a Symbiosis Affinity Group. We're conscious business growth advisors, and we're advising companies dedicated to conscious business, and we enable them to reach purpose and profit by fostering fair trade, circular supply chain ecosystems, in order to create sustainable impact on companies, people, communities, and consumers alike. Please take a moment to tell us where you're joining us from in the chat, and feel free to leave your LinkedIn profile as well so that we can take this conversation further after the event. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A panel. We'll do our best to cover them during the session or follow up afterward. We're very excited about today's conversation that is very close to my heart and also our purpose. It's about a new paradigm shift when it comes to leadership, one where purpose is not just an afterthought, but a foundation for a new style evolving of conscious and purposeful leadership. Our guest today is no other than Terri Maxwell. She's the global voice in leadership transformation and conscious business. She's the CEO of Share on Purpose Incorporated, a portfolio of conscious brands. And today, she's going to walk us through the real journey of building purpose-driven organization and becoming a conscious and purpose-driven leader, especially in this time of uncertainty, to be able to lead from within. Terri, thank you and welcome.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
So, of course, there's a lot to cover, but what would be the most interesting for our viewers and also for us on a personal level is what made you start? Can you share a story on the personal moment or insight that really made you shift your own leadership journey from profit-driven to purpose-led?
Yeah, great question. So I had been an executive in an internet company. I'm older than I look, and we had taken our company public on the NASDAQ stock exchange. And then September 11th happened, and I decided to leave corporate America, start my own business in 2002. I grew that to, it was a growth strategy firm. I grew that to about 40 consultants, and was making tons of money, and I had my own business, and on the surface it looked like I had everything that I wanted. I could have retired, but I had this awakening that I was growing things that didn't matter. And companies were hiring me to grow their company. Large companies, small companies were hiring me to grow their company. But the products and services that they offered didn't make a difference. And I just felt like I was growing things that didn't matter. And so in early 2008, which ended up being fortuitous timing, I decided to sell that business and start over with this crazy idea that there had to be a way to use my business growth skills to make a difference in the world. And that's where it all started.
That's a great story. And I think that, as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are unconscious, conscious entrepreneurs without even knowing it. And from my personal story as well, there was really this aha moment where everything combined together, from the personal to the professional, led me to really pause and breathe and really look deep inside my soul and figure out what I really wanted for the world and how could I contribute and how to make an impact that would make a difference. And I think that also at Shifco, there is a lot of tutoring around the fact of pausing and breathing and being able to um, really go deep inside and figure out one's own purpose, which is very difficult to do when we're surrounded with constant notifications and emails and phone calls. And it's very important to be able to do that. And eventually the haha moment comes and takes you to this more purpose-led journey in the next chapter of your life.
Absolutely. And, I think people think that conscious business or purposeful business is about just doing good, or saying that you're doing good. I find that's not the case. What it really is about slowing down and being very intentional with why you're doing what you're doing. What is my intention for doing this? And so now everything for me moves at a much slower pace. And every relationship that I enter, every partnership, every client that I take on, I'm looking at what's my intention. Is my intention to get something, or is my intention to serve in some meaningful way? And the irony is you can make just as much money with intentionality as you can when you're just out to make money.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And this is also a topic that we'll approach later during the conversation, because obviously many entrepreneurs or many business leaders think that doing things or doing their business with purpose might lead to a decrease in profit. And not only experience shows us otherwise, but also numbers shows us otherwise. We live in a very uncertain time at the geopolitical, but also at a business level. So why do you believe now is the most critical time for leaders to embrace purpose in the core of their business?
Yeah, I feel like the next decade is going to be the rise of conscious business, and JC, you've seen some of the research that I have that supports that. And the reason why I feel like the timing of that matters is in the world, and in almost every country, whatever social systems were established are starting to fall apart. Political systems are falling apart, social systems are falling apart, support networks are falling apart. And I feel like conscious business can step into that void and can, with intentionality and with purpose, can serve in meaningful ways. And as a result of that service, it's just about thinking differently. It's not about being a nonprofit or just making donations. It's really about thinking differently about how you can do good while you're actually making money. And you can do those two things at the same time.
Thank you, Terri.
So thank you very much, Terry. That is really a pleasure and an honor for me to meet you. Thank you very much for that. And I would like to go deeper in this, in navigating in the uncertainty, like my colleague she say right now. It's a question I would like to ask is about that many leaders feel overwhelmed by content change. What are some, how to say, practical mindset shift of or frameworks that help leader remain ground in purpose during uncertain times?
Yeah, great question, Raul. I teach a methodology called the success switch, and I'll share it with your listeners because it is the thing that has helped me become a better conscious leader. It's about slowing down and being more intentional. And so the way that the success switch works, it's 3 steps: A, B, C. I like to keep things really simple. A stands for acknowledge, and I do this proactively throughout the day. And so you just use a simple prompt. The truth is, I feel, and whatever comes up, comes up. I might be frustrated, I might be tired, whatever it is. So you say, the truth is, I feel, and then you pause. And what that does is it triggers a part of your brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is the dumb part of the brain. It's kind of running on automatic, and it's the thing that's causing us to get out of sync. And so it triggers the amygdala to pause. And so I say the truth is I feel, and I just wait, and my amygdala will slow down. And I would encourage everybody to do that with me. You'll feel it. It just, your brain just starts downshifting. And then I wait in about 30 seconds, depending on how stressed I am, for my amygdala to pause. And it will feel like my brain is in neutral. And at that point, when I feel that kind of neutral state, I move to step 2. And step 2 is breathing. And you breathe in through the nose and out of your mouth 4 times. And when you do that, it activates the prefrontal cortex, which is the power part of your brain. And the prefrontal cortex turns on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of you that relaxes you. So nice and slow in through the nose and out of the mouth. And I do that 4 times. And literally, I can just feel my whole body relax. And once I'm feeling this state of oneness, then I use step 3, which is C. And step 3 is I claim the intention. So I might say, I'm ready to tackle the day, or, I'm powerful enough to create what I want. And so I claim that new intention. And now I've set myself straight. I've set myself on a course to be more purposeful, to be more intentional. And now I'm not bothered by the news of the day. I just simply know that it's all working out and it's all coming together. And so I use that practice proactively throughout the day. I teach that. Obviously, JC knows that I teach that to every ShiftCo member so that they can be more conscious and more purposeful. And then from that point, I can make a bigger difference and not be affected by the things around me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Terri. If I can just add something to that, because I've been, of course, following ShiftCo and Terri's courses, and I've been implementing the success switch as well, and it's been very helpful to reprogram, some parts of the subconscious mind that are rooted in, in doubt, in self-sabotage and whatnot, things that come up from your childhood and so on, that are not truly yours, but that have been imprinted in your brain for some reason. And if I can add to what you just said, Terri, that I think that what's important is also really, and that's the work we did with ShiftCo at the beginning, I remember, is really to think deep about your purpose. It's really to think of it, to really listen to your soul and to listen to your colleague, not just for a minute, not just for a day, but for a week, for 2 weeks, until you really get it, until you feel this tingling in your body that tells you, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm in for. And then, and only then, you can embark on the journey of, define. Once your purpose is defined, then you need to create the whole world around it, and according to your skills and to your passion, but always listening to your heart and staying grounded in the present moment, which is what we were discussing before. Is a very difficult task. But once we achieve this stillness within us and around us, then the magic happens.
And it's so true. And I think the tendency is to try to make our business or our career fit our purpose and make it stick in. And purpose is a verb. It's not a noun. You don't launch a purpose. You are your purpose. You walk your purpose. And so by understanding that purpose is a verb, it's really how you do everything. It's not the business or the job that you're in, or it's not the statement that you have on the wall. It's truly the actions that you're taking, and they must be in alignment with that purpose.
Great. Thank you very much, Terri. And to go deeper with an example, I would like to ask, can you share a case where a company successfully transformed its business by responding the crisis through a purpose first approach?
Yeah, great question. This is one of my favorite stories to tell. One of my other businesses is called Ignite on Purpose, and Ignite on Purpose grows conscious businesses, and it's kind of a done-for-you program for multi-million-dollar conscious businesses. And we had this client that they'd been a client for a couple of years, and they were a barbecue chain, which is big in here in Texas. And the wonderful COVID happened, and everything shut down, as we all know. And they were, needless to say, they're a family-run business, and they had 7 stores, and they were like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" And so we have this technique that we teach during stressful times. And in addition to the success switch, and what it is you just take a step back and you say, okay, who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? And so we did this exercise with this client, and we said, look, don't focus on, the fact that you're having to shut the door of these 7 restaurants. Just take a step back and really just reflect, who do you serve? We serve families and businesses in our community. Okay, great. What do they need from you right now? And just pause. And they were like, well, their whole family's at home now. They probably need, food. And this is days after things shut down. They probably need food. And, and we started, really thinking about just how family lives were changing. And now all of a sudden everybody was at home. And so we ended up coming up with a couple of ideas. One idea was to create these family packs that were just grab and go. And you just drive up, you grab your family pack, and you go home. Everybody's got a mask on. And within days of COVID, they were actually able to open the restaurant back up under these secure premises with these family packs. And not only did they recover, but they actually did better during that period than not. And it came from just that simple question, who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? That's the intentionality that we're talking about. So that's one of my favorite stories to tell.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terri. Yeah, it's a great story. I think when you're a purpose-led leader and when you have a conscious company, we're less inclined to think about profit, but we have to find the right balance between making the profit and fulfilling our purpose. And the real question that one should ask himself or herself is, how do I serve the world? How can I be of service to the people around me? Not only my clients, but also all the people that surround me in my community, and also my stakeholders, my suppliers, my employees, and everyone, and of course the environment. How can I be of service towards this ecosystem that surrounds me? Because this is what the conscious business model is about, and it's driven by one main philosophy, which is being a purpose-oriented leader.
So is the question then, how do you navigate and balance purpose and profit?
Yes, so definitely we touched base on that before. And as we said, there's a common fear is that the purpose-driven models may reduce profitability. So what's your response to that, indeed, and how can purpose actually drive stronger financial outcomes?
Okay, so I'm with you. So number one is the belief that purpose and profit can't coexist is a myth. It's just not true. And you just have to start from that premise, is they absolutely can coexist. The second thing is profit works very different in a purpose-driven company. It's very different. It looks very different. It operates very differently. And for a new business, they have to get comfortable with the fact that they will not profit in the beginning, and they need to be prepared for that. But that doesn't mean that they can't profit. And so for a new business, there's this pressure to feel like I should get profit. And I had the same thing when I started the Share on Purpose portfolio. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, my savings are going down. What am I going to do? And I was so used to making money that I just wasn't comfortable in the valley between purpose and profit. And it is a bit of a valley. And you have to really get comfortable with that valley is happening for you. It's not happening to you. And then you slowly mold the business so that it is becoming profitable, but it won't work unless you truly believe that you can. And the net effect of that is, for a new business, it happens slower. But if you're conscious and intentional, it will actually happen in a more deliberate way and in a more healthy way, where the profit is sustainable and the business is scalable, which is truly what you want. If you're a larger business and you're retooling yourself, then what happens is you have to look at investing some of the profit that you used to make to realign the business to be purposeful. So it works very differently depending on whether it's a new business or an existing business that's retooling itself. But it all starts with the belief that purpose and profit coexist.
Great, great answer. Thank you for sharing that. There's one traditional ways of measuring, a financial success or success of the processes that you put in place as an entrepreneur in your company, which is the Key Performance Index. In the conscious business model world, we talk about Key Purpose Index, which are different metrics that are, as valuable as Key Performance Index. So when let's say you're a young entrepreneur that wants to launch a business with purpose, with the conscious business model, what kind of matrix should you be looking at first and along the scale and growth of your company?
Yeah, there's lots of discussion about this. The two leading indicators that I find most valuable, number one is customer retention. A truly conscious business maintains customer relationships, and they find more ways to serve the customers that they have. And so retention is a really important metric for conscious businesses to measure. The second is impact. What is the impact that we're making? And so in all of our businesses, we have those two measures. And in Shiftco, 86.3% of the members who are in Shiftco either double their business or reach the next business phase in our platform. And we make every decision in the business around those two metrics: customer retention, how many members stay with us each month, and that impact or purpose measure. And we'll sacrifice profit, and we have sacrificed profit to allocate resources so that those metrics are going up. And as a result of that, our retention is high, our impact is high, and as a result of that, our profit is growing in a very healthy way.
Great. These are two very important metrics. Yeah, impact and customer retention. So thank you for pointing this out. I believe it will be very useful for all the people that are watching us and that are thinking about really launching their conscious business with purpose-led leadership. Well,
okay, thank you, Terri. To go in this growing a purpose-driving organization, to go in deeper in this information, I would like to ask what are the first steps a company can take to embed that purpose in operations and culture, especially if it is currently a very profit organization focused.
Yeah, so it all starts with clarity first. So knowing what your purpose is and ensuring that every person in the company knows what that purpose is. So it must be clear and everybody must know, and it can't be a big long sentence. It really needs to be something very visceral, like revolutionize the way brands grow. That's one of our company's purpose statements. And everybody in the organization knows that that's the purpose, is to revolutionize the way brands grow. So if you start from that perspective of clarity, then the second thing is really making it be a verb. And that's where it's conversational, and those questions like, what is our purpose? Who are we serving? And what do they need from us right now? And by teaching your employees to think like that, rather than execute a strategy or move through a project plan, but to do so with that intentionality of who do I serve, what is our purpose, and what do they need from me right now. The purpose becomes a verb. And when your purpose becomes a verb, you don't need to have creative ways for people to remember it, because it's a living, breathing thing.
Great. Thank you very much. And to go in this direction with this information, I would like also to know or to ask, how can a middle manager and a team leader play a role driving a transformation from within, especially if senior leader is still skeptical?
That's one of the toughest things that I've seen. One of the other companies I have helps companies be more purposeful through leadership. And when the senior leaders are not bought into that, it is very difficult for a middle manager to break through to that. And so my advice always when I see that is to look for who and what you can influence, and don't focus on the fact that you don't have the alignment that you want. And to use true leadership is really about influence, and whether or not people are following your lead regardless of your title, and see in the purest and the most intentional way, how can I influence the organization to be more in alignment with our purpose, and not necessarily focus on the fact that you've got resistance from a particular leader.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. You talk about inside out leadership. What practice do you recommend to leaders to truly embody the purpose they wish in their organization?
Yeah, so I'll repeat a couple of things and tie them together. So first and foremost, I believe every conscious leader needs a practice where you can release the tension and stress and get back into alignment. And that's the success switch we talked about earlier, which I do 2 to 3 times a day, and I teach to everybody I come in contact with. The second thing is a practice of asking that question, who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? And then the third thing that I feel like is paramount is to really double check your intention. When we go into relationships, partnerships, we're really thinking about what can I get? But if you really take that step back and you say, what is my intention right now? Like, I'm going through a really difficult personal time. I'm caring for a very close family member full time, in addition to having these portfolio of businesses. And I can't always bring my best self to a partnership. And so it's smarter for me, with pure intention, just to say, you know what, this isn't the right time because I've got too much going on. And yes, a partnership might be really good, and it might make us both money and those types of things. But if I can't bring my best self to it, then the intention behind it is not truly purposeful. So that intentionality of really slowing down and getting very clear on what is my intention in this relationship, in this partnership, in this community that I'm serving, that's what I found to be the practice. We teach that to everybody in our portfolio, all of the leaders of our brands. And what I love more than anything is when I'll use Michaela, she leads the Ignite on Purpose brand, and she's truly amazing. When she'll basically do that to me, where I'll be like hurrying and wanting to make something happen, and she'll say, I think we ought to just take a breath, and I think we ought to take, really step back and look at our intention here. And our intention right now is XYZ. And I'll be like, oh, wow, she just turned the tables on me. So that notion of getting clear on what your intention is before you take action is it's a game changer.
Thank you. Great insights. Thank you very much. I will have a question about the emotional intelligence or vulnerability or even spiritual growth. Are they playing into the modern leadership and purpose activation a role?
Oh, I love this question because there's a lot of companies out there and organizations purporting to be conscious and purposeful, and and the surefire there's two signs that you can tell that somebody, someone or an organization is truly conscious and purposeful. Number one is they have some type of a guarantee or satisfaction. If you're not happy, you don't pay, or there's something along the lines of, or you know, a staggered billing system or something along the line. So how they price and how they bill tells you a lot about their level of consciousness. And then the second thing, which really speaks to the question, Raul, is do they speak as much about their failures as they do their successes? And the companies that are just, you know, boasting from the rooftops all of the things they've done and, you know, blah blah blah, and how much success they've had, but they're not truly talking about their failures and their struggles, that is always a sign that somebody's not conscious or not purposeful. And that, you know, you know, in business, you fail more than you succeed if you tell the truth. I don't care what the business is, there's more failures than there are successes. So if you can learn to be comfortable talking about those, it will create a safer environment for your employees and partners to talk openly and to be vulnerable. And it will let people know that you're for real. And I think that's the thing I pride myself on the most, is that people feel the genuineness of me, but they feel it because I talk so openly about my failures, more so even than my successes.
Great. We need to know to learn more about our from our failure as of our success. Thank you very much for all this information. I give the floor to Gise.
Yeah, thank you, Raul. Thank you, Terry. One of the major topics when we look at the conscious business growth model is, of course, it starts with the top down, the leadership team, the executive team, and this is something that we have learned as a certified conscious business growth advisors through Conscious Business Journey and with our friend Thomas Eckschmidt, is that leadership needs to lead the way, but the entire company also needs to embed the same values and the same purpose and same actions. And of course, this takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort. And it really needs to needs to happen is a paradigm shift within that needs to go from top to bottom all the way down to the, I would say, even to the shop floor. Because if there is one person within the organization or a few departments within the organization that are not in tune and in symbiosis with the purpose of such firm, then the whole system cannot navigate in the same direction. So putting this in place is even especially if you're in large corporation, it can be quite daunting. But this is why we're here as conscious leaders and conscious business growth advisors. But if you had a message for the leaders that want to go on this journey, what should they ask themselves before making a decision to ensure that this decision aligns with their purpose at the beginning of their journey, but also all along their journey?
Yeah, it comes back to something I said. I'm just going to put it in a different light because I teach this to every employee and teach this to organizations that are trying to become more purposeful. Too often we make things more complicated. We've got a checklist for this and a way to do this, but living your purpose, again, it's thinking about purpose being a verb, not a noun. Living your purpose is really about that intentionality. Who do I serve? Is our purpose, and what do the people that I serve need from me right now? And if you just imagine whether you've got 10,000 employees or you are your only employee, if you ask yourself that question, who do I serve? What is our purpose? What do the people that I serve need from me right now? You would stay in alignment with your purpose. And that's a touchstone. What a touchstone is, that thing that brings you back to the core element. And so I pride myself on trying to make things easier for people rather than a complicated framework. If you just bring it back to that simple question, you'll stay in alignment with your purpose.
Yeah, thank you. And I confirm that you make it very easy for people. I've been on the shift code journey for 6 months now, I believe, and it's been very helpful for us to go from vision to implementation and very steady and I would say practical ways. I always compare, my learning in shift code and the help, the support that I've been getting, like kind of Lego blocks where everything fits together depending on where you are and where you want and what you want to build. Then you're giving us the blocks to put things together and to put it nicely in shape. So it's been tremendously helpful. Well, as we come close to the end of already 35 minutes and time flies, I think what would be very important for all our viewers that are listening now and will listen to the recording, if you can leave the audience with one bold challenge, one bold message for the year ahead, what would it be?
Yeah, I always like to use this story, JC. I grew up with two raging alcoholic parents, very, very poor. We lived in a 600 square foot trailer with rats and roaches. I was abused in every way possible. And I always like to put that into perspective because I never want to forget where I came from. But my grandfather was this kind of guardian angel for me in those early years, and he had this saying, and this one particular time where I think I really heard the saying. He said it other times, but I didn't hear it. I was a kid and in difficult circumstances. But in this situation, I was an athlete, and I used my sports career to overcome my anger and frustration in this very difficult life. And I was a girls basketball point guard, so I was the one that brought the ball down the court and passed the ball and set the plays. And we were in a playoff game, and first half we were just killing it. We were up by 13 points, which in girls high school basketball is a lot. And I was all cocky, being angry in that kind of situation. We're going to show them, we're going to beat everybody on the court. And I come out of the gym, of the locker room at the second half, and the opposing coach had recognized that I dribbled the ball with my right hand down the right side of the court. And so he set up a competitive move called a trap. And what a trap is when two defenders move to the half court line, and right as you cross the half court line, they trap you, and you can't cross back over. So the first time, as I started to come near them, I crossed, and then I crossed back. I lost the ball. They scored. The second time, I was so mad. I couldn't believe that I lost the ball. And I dribbled the ball like a crazy person to the exact same spot. And I saw them kind of crossing up, and I'm like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to run right between you. And I tried to run right between them, which is an offensive foul, and I lost the ball again. 6 times I went to the exact same spot. 6 times I lost the ball and they scored. And the coach, of course, took me out. I was having a meltdown on the court, and we lost the game. And I stormed out of the gym. It's the coach's fault, and all this anger and frustration. And I drove to my grandpa's house, and I was ranting and raving. And my grandfather was this very intentional, quiet, slow moving man. And he just started kind of he had a goatee, and he just started rubbing his goatee. And he said, yeah, you get what you focus on. And I put my hands on my hip like any good teenager and said, Grandpa, it's not my fault. And I was ranting and raving. He's like, Terri, you get what you focus on. And then he said these words, and he said, let me ask you a question. The first half when you were winning, what were you focused on? And I said, the goal and scoring. And he said, nice and slowly, he said, in the second half, what were you focused on? And out of my words, I said, getting past the defender. He said, yeah, you get what you focus on. And I didn't quite get it yet, but I had this sinking awareness that I was getting this life lesson. And he said, Terri, when you focus on the goal and what you want, you win. When you focus on the obstacle and what you don't want and what's standing in your way, all of your focus is on that obstacle, you get more obstacles. And I was like, oh my God, and that phrase changed my life. It changed my life that day. It changed my life forever. And I think it's the most important lesson that I could leave people with right now is there's so much strife. There's so many challenges. There's so much resistance. Take your focus off of that and put your focus on what you want to create. Put your focus on your purpose. Put your focus on where you're going and ignore all of the noise because you get what you focus on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing this personal story with us. I think it's very inspiring and very, how to say, it opens up a lot of perspective on how we should all focus our lives, no matter what obstacles we have, no matter where we come from. There are always ways to overcome any challenge if we focus and have our eyes on the prize, as we say. So thank you for sharing that with us. As we're coming to a close, I'm not sure if we can take, if there's some comments or Q&A in the chat. We can check maybe. I'm in Salt Lake City. The Bobby is here with us. Antonio, Terri is here. Ana Maria, Antonio. Victor is here as well from Nigeria. So we have a lot of people coming from different places. Eva, thank you for joining. I don't see any questions so far, but we'll be happy to connect after the event. This is our LinkedIn profile, Symbiosis Affinity Group. Please follow us and connect with us if you have any questions or if you want to discuss things further at a later stage. Please also check Terri Maxwell, LinkedIn, and Shifco and Share on Purpose. Amazing resources that are going to help you really grow on the personal and professional level. I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank you, Terri. Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Thomas, in the background for making this happen. Our next webinar will be on the 30th of June. It will be in French. We'll have the pleasure to have Julie Biron, who's an expert in CSR and in West Africa. And we'll talk about CSR impact on communities and ethical supply chain, a great topic that is right at the heart of what we do here at Symbiosis Infinity Group. Thank you again so much, everybody, and wish you a great rest of the day. And let's us all wish peace to the world in this very scary and challenging times. Thank you.